Welcome back everyone, and thank you for tuning in to World of Fashion. I'm your host Lexi Ward, and today we have our guest Ellie Yordanova, and she'll be talking about her newest edition of Modus, the fashion magazine we all know and love.
Thank you for having me on, Lex.
Always a pleasure. For you listening today, we'll be talking about how Modus engages with an audience through the magazine and how it is distributed. Firstly, tell us a little bit about Modus.
Yeah, well, Modus is a fashion magazine that I started in 2011 when I was 21 here in the UK, and was made for younger women just like me that wanted to be updated on the latest fashion trends and social trends.
Okay then, break it down for me. How did you hook your audience to your magazine? What kinds of text and features did you include to interest them?
Okay, well, I'll start with my front cover since that's the first thing you see. With my front cover, I always wanted it to be something that stands out a lot to a customer. Since it's the first thing you see, it's the first thing that should really draw in your attention, and it depicts whether a person's going to stick or keep reading, or is just going to put the magazine down and pick something else. So I think the use of my model looking straight into the camera, I think that draws in an audience, since, you know, she's looking right at you. It's a more inviting look. Also the use of my cover lines. So I always strive to, you know, since the target audience is younger women, and also just like more of like a self-help, like trying to be the better you kind of fashion magazine. And since it is a fashion magazine, obviously, the use of my cover lines for this issue, like best ways to style knitwear, and also the cover line about the cover line about skincare. Obviously that's a very popular trend right now on TikTok, so I think obviously the use of more popular trends and the use of Lauren, my model, and her story, I think obviously that's the first thing people see, and with the use of all this, I think it really does draw in a customer.
Oh yeah, I have seen a big rise of that on TikTok, and just how many people have started their own routines that work for them.
Exactly, yeah, I wanted to make sure that I include things that, you know, will engage my audience, because obviously if you have something that doesn't really interest my target audience, or doesn't really, I mean, it's a fashion magazine after all, I can't exactly include something that doesn't have fashion in it, or something that will make women feel good about themselves, then how am I gonna ever interest my target audience, or ever interest an audience that I want? So I think obviously with the consideration of all that, I think that's the reason why people pick up my magazine. They see a model, they see her looking straight into the camera, they see the cover lines, and they're like, oh, these are things that I'd like to read about, these are things that I'd like to maybe buy or purchase, and it just makes them want to read on and makes them want to purchase my magazine.
Okay, I like that. And what about your contents page?
Well, just like my front cover, the contents page, obviously, it has everything you need in it. If you want to know where something is in a magazine, you go to the contents page. So the contents page, obviously, is less to draw in that first bit of attention, but it's more to keep the consumer hooked. It's more to interest the consumer. So obviously I had cover lines such as like Y2K and, you know, Brat or Demure, which is something that has been on TikTok a lot. And, you know, I wanted to include fashion, skincare, self-care, all this, so my target audience would want to keep reading more and to want to look at my magazine and be like, oh yeah, this is something that I'm really interested in. So that's the reason why, obviously, that includes all of that, but also the use of Y2K bags and the fashion and the images. And again, I wanted to include images that would really hook an audience and that would interest them, such as the model featured on my contents page. I think they're like business casual wear obviously will interest my target audience. But yeah, I think just the use of more trendy and more, like, obviously if you're going to include stuff about food or about baking or about, cars, that's not a fashion magazine. You have to, if you want to really hook an audience, if you want to engage with your audience, you have to include things that are things that that are things that a target audience would want. Do you know what I mean? My target audience is younger females. At least that's what I strive to interest. So I'm not going to include anything that is off their ideals, because if somebody else wants stuff like that, they'd go to a different magazine. A fashion magazine is all about this stuff, and especially Modus. It's all about this stuff, so it was nothing I was ever going to stray away from. Do you know what I mean? This is what people want to see, and this is that's why I make sure to add it and make sure to involve it.
And lastly, your article page.
My article page, again, obviously, the article page isn't the first thing that a consumer sees, but, my article page features an article about my model on the front cover, so people will be more interested in that since, she's on the front cover and stuff. So I really wanted my article to be about something that, obviously, it's about Lauren and it's about her life and it's about all the things she's gone through and how she's faced those trials and tribulations. But I also just wanted it to be a lesson, and I wanted it to be inspiring for my target audience. And it's about somebody being a bit confused in life, not knowing what they're doing, not knowing how, where their life's going to take them, and still coming out okay at the end. Do you know what I mean? It's somebody's plans completely going wrong, and it's them still coming out the other side and being okay, which I think is a really inspiring thing. And I think it's something that, and it still includes that sense of fashion, self-care. It still includes stuff that are featured in a fashion magazine, but it also includes something that I think is really important and that I think is really intriguing and inspiring for a lot of people, because I think fashion magazines, obviously, a magazine is something you read out of leisure. It's something you read off the basis of, wanting to feel either good about yourself, feel a way of inspiring yourself. It's a sense of self in a way. So I think obviously having an important message such as that it would obviously impact an audience, which I think is really important, not only to engage but to impact and to, I don't know, I think that's about it. I think just making sure that I not only engage but also make people feel good about themselves while still involving that, essence of modernization and the trendiness. And I think also my images also add to that, her in her business outfit and with the pose again, staring in the camera. It creates a sense of, personalization to the model. And the title also leads a person to wanting to read more about it. So yeah, I think that's about it.
I believe that it is a very important message, as I think sometimes if one bad thing happens, people completely lose themselves and not see any hope in it.
Exactly, and I believe that Lauren's story shares a message of growth that may inspire an audience and engage them.
And lastly, how has your magazine been distributed?
Yeah, well, my magazine is £4.75, and that's what it is every month. So it's issued online, so people can buy it online from our website, modus.com. And you can subscribe and you can buy an issue there. You get it discounted if you buy it online as a subscription. It's only £4 a month, and you get latest issues and, just updates on the magazine. But also you can buy it obviously in shops, which is that extra price of £4.75. But yeah, it's just that little bit of added costs. But yeah.
Oh yeah, and which one would you say is more beneficial, online or in shops?
Well, I don't know, because I think they both have their benefits. I think if you're a big long-term fan of Modus, I think online is obviously so much better, because you can subscribe and pay a little bit less and get more than you would with a normal magazine. I think a lot of our loyal customers and a lot of our like diehard fans are from the website, which is lovely to see, because we get to add little notes, and we get to add like little updates about the magazine. It's distributed every month, by the way, one issue every month. But yeah, I think it's obviously, it depends on what kind of person you are, because if you want an issue, if you are a big fan and you want to see what we're doing every single month, I think, of course, like, buy from the website. But then again, I think shops are also beneficial. Shops are the way we kind of get our name across and get our brand across, because obviously, in a shop, if you see a magazine you like, you'll pick it up, do you know what I mean? And then maybe we'll get new customers. I think online is more for the long-term customers that are a big fan of our brand, whereas shops are obviously still for our customers that have been there for a while, but it's also for those new people, or those people that are venturing out and trying to discover new things. So I don't know, I think they both have their benefits and they're both good in their own ways. But yeah, I think that either way, obviously online is a new thing, and magazines have been sold digitally, not digitally, in shops forever. So I think it's a nice addition, but each one has its own benefits, and they both do different things for the company. And yeah.
Perfect. Well, I think that's all the questions I have.
That was very fun.
Well, thank you very much for sharing that with us, and I hope to see you very soon. That was Ellie Jordanova on today's edition of World of Fashion. Tune in next week for some more exciting information on fashion and the latest trends.